All right, welcome back to episode 7 of TML Weekly. Of course, always sponsored by Bjorn and Don Cherry Sports Bar and Grill. So today we're just going to be talking about, we're going to be summarizing the Sweden trip. Got 4 points there. Klingberg moved to LTIR yesterday. Gonna dive into that, what that means for the team going forward.
Woohoo!
We're going to preview the game today at 2 p.m. Against Chicago, and then tomorrow's game against Dubas and the Penguins. So first things first, let's get into it. Johnny Mac, how's it going?
Good. Just happy to do a quick show here. Been busy, lots going on, and I didn't watch either of the games in Sweden. The first one we were playing, my son's team was in Charlottetown, and then the second one we listened to it, which was kind of cool. And trying to explain to a 9-year-old with the revolution of video that we have now that this is how and you know what, he kind of liked it. And I can remember back in the day listening to baseball games in the middle of the nights is the only thing you could get on the radio back in the 70s, and we'd get some American baseball games, and listening to a game of any sort on the radio is to me, I love it. You visualize what's going on. Now you get the privilege too and the opportunity to go back and see some of the plays that you envisioned while they were happening, to see if they were they were what they were. So I like the Nylander goal in overtime, for example. They talked about it was and of course it was Ralphie and Bones. So, getting to hear them anytime, I never get upset. But, it sounds like it was a positive experience for them. Got the boys together again, like I mentioned, of that first road trip. So, you come back. No matter what happens, you come back with the 4 points. You got to be happy. That's a lot of travel and a lot of time, to get those 4 points. But, they got them, and, off we go here.
Yeah, John, how's it going?
Pretty good, brother. Pretty good. Just in thinking about the days of listening to games on the radio. I remember being a kid listening. My mom would put me to bed. And my dad would sneak in one of those little old radios, the ones that you didn't even have power. They were run on batteries. My dad would sneak it in for me and let me listen if the ball game was on late, or if the Leafs were on a road trip or something like that. And like a great play-by-play guy, you can't beat that stuff, man. Vin Scully in baseball, John Miller, in baseball, Bones for the Leafs. I mean, I think I speak on behalf of all of Leaf Nation when I say, listen, do whatever it takes to get Joe Bowen doing TV and radio simulcast games, because there's nobody that does it better than Joe Bowen.
They don't like him. They, for some reason, and I have no insight on why, but they don't like him. And you guys would have watched the game, but there was an instance where at the beginning of the game, and he was having trouble getting, he couldn't hear anything on his headset, right? So he says to Ralph, he says, I can't, hopefully you guys can hear me, and blah, 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 back and forth with like the production. And he says, yeah, it's tough for us. We're here in Toronto. Why don't they say, well, throw them a bone, for Christ's sake, send them on that trip. That's
Mickey Mouse. Like, it's so Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
That's a story for another day, but
they don't like him. If they liked him, because he'd want to be there. I mean, he's at the point where, that's a special, you maybe go to the Boria, tribute and whatnot over there. I don't know. They clearly don't like them.
John, they do this for, this is the Rogers Bell conglomerate. They do the same nonsense. We're like one of 2 teams in Major League Baseball who don't send their radio broadcast on the road. It's Mickey Mouse by $1 billion organization. And again, shame on Rogers, shame on Bell. Do better. We deserve it. Let's get going.
Yeah, just quickly, there's also a YouTube channel I watch every now and then to catch up on the Leafs highlights, and they actually take the Joe Bowen calls and like put it over like the Sportsnet or TSN feed, so you get to see the actual plays, but you hear his commentary over it. So it's kind of a cool little change.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. All right.
Good idea.
Yeah, let's dive into the Sweden trip.
Okay, so listen, I'm with John. We got 4 points out of it, and so reason to celebrate, absolutely. Let's take the 4 points and win. I don't know that anybody can come out of that trip feeling better about this team than when we went into it. That was the William Nylander Sweden World Tour. The first 2 periods of that game, in the first game that we played against Detroit.
Yep.
Detroit. You're frozen, John.
Are we back? I mean, those 2 periods were the worst 2 periods I've seen us play, and I can't tell you how long. We showed up for the 3rd period, as typical Leafs do. We flip a switch, and our talent is better than their talent, and we win a game. A Minnesota game, again, for long stretches of play, we were, I don't want to call us disinterested, but we were going through the motions. And, 2-0 going into the 3rd period. You again allow, little cheapy goals going in. And it takes William Nylander putting on the 3 crowns on his jersey to feel like he's excellent again. I don't know. I think Nylander was don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything away from Nylander. Nylander was all world. That guy is playing the best hockey of his career, and it's not even close. Rest of the team, I've got the exact same. That road trip, 4 points, fantastic in Sweden, lots of travel, all that. The exact same concerns I had going into that trip were on full display in both games. I don't feel any better about it. That's my take.
How about you, Nolan?
Yeah, I thought both games, obviously 4 points, but both games had their flaws. Obviously, having to come back from being down 2-0, slow start again. You like to see that cleaned up, obviously, and not have to rely on big 3rd period comebacks anymore. And then for the Minnesota game, choking a 3-1 lead. Obviously, you want to clean up that, just have a consistent 60-minute effort, just close the game nice and clean. But overall, I think it was a pretty good trip, obviously. Looks like the guys had fun over there and picked up 4 points.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you got to, I get it. Like I said earlier, I didn't watch the games. I do, I listened to the second one. They get the wins. It's still early in the year. Nobody's running on all cylinders. There's a lot of unknowns here. Some injuries. The Klingberg stuff, which we'll get into here in a few. I'm sure that's on the list, but at the end of the day, let's see how they respond. I think coming out of that trip, having a few days, of recovery, and then having to go into a pretty cool building in Chicago, and play a young team that Thanksgiving and a lot of eyeballs are going to be on that game. Let's see how they respond. They should go out there and smash them. Let's face it. If you put those rosters up against each other, the 2 guys that they brought in that maybe would have made them a little bit better, and Taylor Hall, who's gone for the year, and Corey Perry, who's been healthy scratched. Those 2 guys, they shouldn't have an answer if Toronto comes out swinging. But it'll be nice to see Bedard again. But I expect puck drop here in a couple hours. I think Toronto should come out and handily beat them.
Well, I mean, I think I think we all agree that we should handily beat the Blackhawks. But let's keep in mind, they embarrassed us pretty good the last time they were in our building.
Yeah.
When we decided yet again that we just weren't ready to play hockey. So, I've been taking.
Was that game 2? Was that game 2 or game 3?
Game 3.
Game 3.
Yeah.
So listen, I've taken all kinds of heat all week, not surprisingly, from a lot of people, because I've said that we are in the midst right now of doing what we've done the last 4 years. We are lulling ourselves into the belief that it's early and that we've never seen this before. We've never seen, our top guys decide, I'm going to take the night off. We've never seen our guys not show up ready to start the game. We've never seen our defense forget how to play hockey. We've never seen them not know how to make a line change.
Like, you just described every hockey team at every level in the history of the sport.
I don't know. Boston's 14-1 again, boys.
Yeah, come on. How did their 14-1 start last year work out for them?
Yeah, like listen, don't get. I feel like
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you get into the playoffs.
Record
if
of
they commit going in the 8 seed or the 1 seed, it doesn't matter.
Oh,
it's how you play then, right? You get in,
but John,
and then it's how you play then.
But we don't play well then either, and that's the problem.
It's a different team every year.
Oh,
this is a different team than it was last year. Different makeup, different guys. There's going to be a lot more different guys from what I'm understanding here.
No, there has to be.
Yeah, well, there's got to be. I mean, these two defensemen in Calgary. It's not talked about this much. And now with cap relief with Klingberg on long term, I expect something real quick here. Timmins coming back, I think, is going to be good if he plays the way he did in the preseason, and we all kind of have to give him that opportunity to see if he can. I mean,
now listen, I saw it talked about this week, and I don't know if you guys saw the actual proposal, but I saw it in a lot of places, and it looked like it was Nick Abruzzi, Pontus Holmberg, a first rounder this year and a second rounder next year for both the Calgary defensemen, and 50% retained. And I just kind of went like, if I'm Calgary, I don't know why I make that trade.
Well, if I'm Calgary, I make that trade. If Toronto, I'm only making that trade if I'm able to extend both of them. Now, here's where I'm going with this, and right. Calgary is the player here. I'm thinking Mackenzie Weegar is in the background. He makes a lot more money, so there's going to have to be some other stuff done. But I'm thinking Mackenzie Weegar. The other two guys, great. I think they'd fit in. Mackenzie Weegar would make a massive difference on this hockey club if you can find a way to work it. He doesn't want to be part of a rebuild, which is where they're trending. And does it mean some other stuff moving? Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see. I don't think one of the core four. I don't think that's on the table, but there's some other guys that maybe.
So Uyghur's at 6.25.
Yeah, they just saved 4 on Klingberg.
1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. So he's at 6.25. I'm just looking at Cap Friendly now for the next 6 seasons. 6 seasons.
And he's already 30, right? 31?
29.
He's 29.
Uyghur's 29. Listen, Mackenzie Weegar moves the needle.
Yeah. Do the other guys? I don't know. They give you a little toughness.
Zadorov, I like. I think Tanev is a 5-6 on a winning franchise, like on a legit Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I think both of those guys are 5-6s, maybe even out of the lineup at times. If you're
Zadorov, Zadorov, I like what he brings though. He's got that physical, hard to move. Put him in front of the net. I think Zadorov is a legit top 6 defenseman on any legit team. Tanev, he's got a little Zach Bogosian in him, if you know what I mean.
He's a wily old vet, though. Yeah. What he lacks in foot speed, he's going to make up in smarts and getting in the right position, getting his stick in lanes.
Yeah, agreed.
Things like that, right?
Kind of like Shen.
They're doing something for a defenseman. They're doing something for a defenseman. We all know that.
Better than Legresson or however we say his name that's playing for us now, right? So.
Yeah, and I still think that Kane is in the mix here. I really do. And I think Kane. I have a feeling here that Kane wants to play in Toronto and Kane wants to play with Matthews and he wants to do it so bad. I think Patrick Kane doesn't need money. Patrick Kane can come into the Leafs and say, "Listen, I'll sign a league minimum for a year and let's see how we roll," right? And I truly believe that's on the table. I think Toronto would be irresponsible to not entertain that. If you can bring a guy in on $1 million, maybe with a couple of million in games played incentives or playoff game games played incentives, and he can make 3, right? If he plays 20 games in the playoffs or something like that. I think he's the type of kid that's going to bet on himself. I don't see any other situation other than maybe Florida that makes sense for him. And I feel that that's happening. And I think, I think they're playing Nick Robertson to a point right now where he might be the odd man out and be part of a trade for a defenseman if they know they can bring in Kane at $1 million, right? There's that's there. That is definitely there. That's not going away. Like Friedman's like, oh, Kane didn't talk to Toronto, and then 5 minutes later, oh, Kane talked to Toronto. Of course he talked to Toronto. That's where he wants to play.
Listen,
right? Matthews was
John,
I know you don't like that, and I'm not sure I do either, but I would definitely entertain it.
I don't like, so let's be clear on what the parameters are on what we're talking about here. If you're telling me Patrick Kane is coming in at a league minimum contract, John, I will pick him up at the airport and drive him to the ACC. Like, of course, you're totally down for that. My concern with Patrick Kane is, would he do that? And if he is, he would be the first player in God knows how long who's taking a discount to come to Toronto. Now, maybe he's of the mindset that he thinks legitimately this is the spot he wants to be, and maybe the overarching desire to play with the Savior is going to put him over the top, and in which case, God love him. I love him on a league minimum deal. I hate him on a Tyler Bertuzzi type deal.
I'd love him on anything $3 million and under. And even if it's on the power play, then you look at maybe splitting up, and you throw Marner down on the third line, right? And have him there. And that's crazy saying Marner on a third line, but you've got 9. If say Robertson's a guy out, you have a pretty good hockey club there if those are your top 9, right? And you leave Nyes with 3 American kids, Nyes, Matthews, and Kane on the. It would be absolutely frightening, that line. And I saw some video of Kane, and it's a hit.
Not the stop and start stuff. Don't give me the stop and start.
No,
stuff.
I'm a skating guy. I'm looking at the lateral mobility. I'm looking at the way he opens his hips when he leans into a turn. And I watched about 90 seconds worth of a skate of his, and he's there. He's there. And he, I'm not a doctor. I don't know how long he's there, but at the end of the day, if there's a deal out there for him, and you can, plus he's got the swagger, and he's won, and he's been a big part of a win, right? We brought in guys that have won, but guys that were the 7th defenseman that got in because a guy was hurt, or
no argument there.
This guy won, and this guy, at times, put the Chicago Blackhawks on his back and won, right? Stepped up, scored big goals, and he's got some gas left in the tank. And you know what? Maybe he's looking at it and saying, okay, where could I maximize the next 5 years of a contract? Where could I maximize my numbers? And that's because people are saying, oh, is he healthy? Nobody's going to sign him for a 3 or 4 year deal at this point, except Buffalo, right? And they're not ready to win yet. So maybe he goes to that Buffalo deal, but maybe he catapults a min contract or a low contract into that. Bet on himself, right?
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. If it's me, and again, I'm not going to say anything new here.
You never do.
So negative.
I'm negative.
Unbelievable. Right?
Jesus. But noon, it's Friday at noon, and I'm drinking vodka.
There you go. For me, I'd rather see that LTIR Klingberg money used on a defenseman.
Well, I think it will be. Yeah, this is separate of that. No question. Yeah. They got to bring in defensive depth.
But I will say again, I'm not opposed to a Patrick Kane, or if he's coming in on a league min deal to get a shot at it. My daughter loves Patrick Kane, thinks he's great. She'd do a dance right now if something like that would happen. I don't know. That's where I'm at with Patrick Kane. If Patrick Kane wants to come in and be a part of the solution, I'm okay with Patrick Kane. If Patrick Kane comes in and he's taking up a significant hit on the cap, I'm out.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's gotta make sense. Before we get into the Klingberg thing, and I think we already really have, right? I don't think any of us are upset about it or surprised about it. You know what? It was a gamble, and it screwed me in my family hockey pool because we picked 12 forward, 60, and 2 goalies, and I always go heavy on the Leafs, and I was thinking, first power play, he's going to get 40 points on the PP easily. He's got 5, and now he's basically retired, so that's we can't trade in that pool. So.
You should have listened to me, Johnny. I told you, didn't I? I told you.
Well, yeah, sometimes you're right, but I just wanted to so we got Chicago coming up. Let's talk about Reeves for a second. So here's a guy that hasn't been in the lineup. I think he knows why. The numbers speak for themselves. Does he play again, or do they find a way to move him? Because at the end of the day, he came in and there was a big hype. You got Wi-Fi or whatever his name is in Montreal, Chekak or whatever, and then you got Lucic.
He's got other problems right now,
right? But in division, everybody's we got Reeves, and it's so the Atlantic was going to turn into the old Adams division in the 70s. But does he play here again? Or I'm honestly asking your opinions. I think he does, but I think he's a spot in. I think when you're playing maybe Washington and you got the the Tom Wilson factor, and you can kind of bury him minutes wise, but have him there just in case. But there's not too many teams out there that you need to do that with anymore. There really isn't. Who are you going to worry about, especially in the East? Let's think about the East. You don't get that rivalry in the West where you play them 4 times and somebody runs over one of your guys, right?
I not shockingly have a strong opinion on this. So Nolan, I'm gonna throw this one to you first. Why don't you jump in first?
About Reeves?
Yeah.
I don't know. At the start of the year, he was looking so good. 2 fights the first 2 games, looking like he was really effective. Guys seem to like him, and then obviously once the season goes on, you can't fight every game, and plus minus obviously is what it is. So I don't know. I think he will be spending a lot of time in the press box. I think he's in the lineup today, though. But
okay, I think the guys still like him, and if here's my thought before I go to you, John. If he can stay positive and be the guy that he is, and the guy that the teammates that have played with him in the past and he can be around the team, and he's the 19th or 20th guy, whatever you want to call it. I think there's tremendous value there because he is there in case you've got a home and home with Buffalo and somebody goes running around in Buffalo on a Friday night, and then you got to play them on Saturday night. That's your deterrent, right? That's your deterrent to a point, right? I don't think guys are scared anymore. I mean, nobody was ever really scared, but I think it's just like, yeah, go ahead, jump me, Reeves, and then we'll get the 2 points and maybe squeak into the playoffs. People they're not concerned anymore about that. I think for the most part, the respect level of the National Hockey League is there. I haven't seen the vicious plays that we saw a couple of years ago when we went for about a month where every day somebody was getting suspended for a slew foot or a spear in the back or whatever. So I think he's a valuable piece. I don't think his cap space hurts you too much, $1 million or whatever he's on. So let's go. Here we go. I can imagine now. Let's go.
Okay, so Ryan Reeves, has there been a drop off in his play from the player he was in Minnesota to this year? Absolutely. I don't think you can argue that. And, from 36 to 37, is it expected that there's going to be a drop-off in play? Yeah, I mean, there probably is, right? Like, I mean, if we're being honest about it, guys that are post 35, some guys have the drop-off at 33, right? Where they go from being, I can skate every day to, it's gone overnight. Guys get old quick. And there's a lot of miles on Reeves. Now, do I think Ryan Reeves is a useful player to this team? I absolutely do. Okay. I absolutely do. At a mill, it is what it is. And plus we gave him an extra season and we brought him in under a certain auspice, and maybe that hasn't worked out the way we wanted it to. However, I will maintain until the day I die, as much as this is on Reeves, it is equally as much on the coach for not using him in the proper situations and at the proper times. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but at a certain point, you're playing Ryan Reeves 10 minutes a night. Ryan Reeves can't play 10 minutes a night. I think he's showing you that right off the hop. And whether that gets identified in practice and whether you see something or don't see something that you want to see out of him, whether you want to skate him into the ground, I don't know what the answers are from that end. All I know is the usage of Ryan Reeves is not conducive to success at this point in time. I'm not opposed to keeping Ryan Reeves on the roster. I still like the idea of having him here for a situation like we had in Buffalo at the outdoor game a couple years ago, where they just decided they were going to assault Austin Matthews and he ends up getting suspended because he's got to take power into his own hands. We haven't seen the cheap runs on Matthews yet. We have seen a little bit of an uptick in personal aggressiveness, be it from Gio, be it from Max Domi, and that's great. And, all that good stuff is there. I don't know. I hold as much of the blame on the player, and there is significant amount of blame on the player. I put a lot of it behind the bench as well.
Yeah, fair enough. No, I get that. You mentioned Max Domi, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention. I specifically was a little hard on him after maybe 5 or 6 games, and what's he doing? And if he's not contributing offensively, I want to see the toughness. I've seen it both. He's contributing offensively. He's actually leading the NHL in scoring for players that play under 13 minutes, right?
Yeah. I read that stat too, and I kind of want. Now, if we're going to be fair though, and I think if we're going to give him his flowers, for this, nobody was of the mindset when we brought Max Domi in that he was playing under 13 minutes a night. Fair?
Oh, I was absolutely. Where are you going to find that guy minutes?
Really?
I saw him playing in the top 6.
No, I didn't.
Well, he was penciled in on every starting lineup from the beginning of the season.
Maybe, but he's. I mean, with this group, so you have him. You guys would have had him ahead of Nice and Bertuzzi.
No. John wouldn't have. Remember, John was the guy saying Nye should have been on the first line right from the get-go. I thought it was
no. So where was Domi? If Nye was on the first line from the get-go, where was Domi?
Dude, I wouldn't have signed Max Domi. We all remember I said that right from the get-go.
But you just said that everybody had them in the top 6. I never had him in the top 6. I figured he'd get minutes there. You and I were minutes in there, but I had Nyes ahead of him in the top 6.
Absolutely.
Right? And
every day of the week.
Yarncroc was anyway. I mean, is Yarncroc? He's out, isn't he? Something wrong?
Took a shot off the hand in practice.
Matthews, wasn't it?
Yeah, can't grip the stick, so they don't think he's going to be in. The hot rumor was I haven't seen if they posted a lineup for today or not, but I think Steves was going to get the tap in today. And I like that kid. I've always liked Steves. I think if he got a chance to play on a regular basis, he'd be okay.
Yeah. No, I don't. I don't disagree. I think he's useful. Hey, we don't have much more time, but I want to kind of promote something that's happening here. I'm just going to put up a graphic. So may or may not have one of the core 4 in our first episode. So it's a new podcast coming out through Pro Hockey Development that I'm going to be part of. And So may or may not. I'm not going to confirm or deny, but one of the Leafs core 4 and a pretty funny actor that is in a show based around trailer parks here in Eastern Canada. So, we're looking to record that here coming up, and for all our listeners, look out for that one as well.
We're excited for it, Johnny. Looks good.
Yeah. So, what's the predictions? And Pittsburgh. Yeah, that's the last thing, right?
Kyle Dubas, the return engagement here, it is not going necessarily according to plan in Pittsburgh right now. But what I will say, and listen, I'm not going to say anything that hasn't been said a billion times before. Boy, Sidney Crosby still has it, eh? That guy is just, man. I don't know how you guys feel about this. I wasn't alive to see Bobby Orr, so I trust my dad and my grandpa and Grapes when they say he was as legit as they come and how he changed the game. I was around for Gretzky. I remember seeing him play, and there's no doubt in my mind he's the best. But my God, I don't know that I've ever seen anybody else next to Gretzky as good as Crosby. I just don't. Thoughts?
Yeah, he's top 5, 100%. And he top 5. People will say, "Oh, he's top 5 all time."
Has to be, right?
For sure. I've seen all those guys, and that you mentioned, and I still have Gretzky as much as Orr was who Orr was. But I've got Gretzky, then Orr, then Gordy, then probably Sid, and then Mario. That's
Sid and Mario. I'm totally right there with you.
If Mario, I mean, in a short, if you're talking about the best player at the best time, Mario might be number 1. When Mario was at his peak, and another one that would be in that top 5, if you're talking about most dominant for a season or two, Eric Lindros.
I was just going to say Lindros. Right?
He was
he's very good.
Very good. And you know what? I don't think it's a Dubas versus Shanny or whatever you want to say. I think this is an interconference game that both teams need to win. This is and when you have guys like Crosby, and Malkin's been unbelievable this year. He's 36 years old. He's been unbelievable. Right. So when you have those guys and you're playing against those guys, it doesn't matter who's around them. They're going to make them better, and they're going to compete. They're not going to, you're not going to get 2 easy points from the Pittsburgh Penguins until 87 and Malkin are done. Right. You're just not. It's not going to happen. They'll will their team, whether it's performing themselves or, providing the leadership. I think it'll be fun. I say 4 points. I think 4 points, and then they're off Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I believe, or play Tuesday at home.
Yeah,
is that what it is?
Yeah,
they play Tuesday or Wednesday at home.
I think it's Wednesday.
Okay, good.
Nolan, what do you like for results here?
I want to say 4 points again, like I think I did last week, but I'm just looking at it now. If they get 2 wins here, it'll be 6 in a row. Just knowing the team, I don't think they'll get 6 in a row, so I'll say 3 points.
3, okay, yeah. I'm gonna go with a split. I don't have a good feeling about this today, and the only reason I'm going to say that is on a historical basis, we play down to our opponents like no other team in the history of pro sports does. So it would not surprise me to see us come out flat again today, and cough up a good opportunity to beat a bad team. But I also think that we intrinsically raise our game like nobody else against teams that are legit. It's so hard to figure out. I wish I had the answer for why that takes place. I'm going to go loss today against Chicago and a win on tomorrow night against Pittsburgh. And I also, before we go, I want to shout out Kara Grace and her volleyball team scoring a big win in her first game, first tournament this weekend. So good job to the Assumption volleyball team. good looking out.
Good for her. Congrats. That's
Thanks,
awesome.
man. Yeah,
And with your kind of ideology there that we can't play against crappy teams, but we play against really good teams, wouldn't that be a good recipe in the playoffs? Food for thought, folks. Make the playoffs.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, you can catch them in Vegas all week long. Tip your waitress, try the veal.
Yeah, have a good one, guys. Thanks to Don Cherry Sports Grill and Bjorn Hockey, of course, and we'll see you Tuesday night.
Yeah.